All right, boom. What up? We're here with PMA's chimp season ahead of the group stage. Draft just finished a couple of days ago, so we'll start off with that. What are your thoughts on the draft? Overall.
To be honest, I didn't watch the draft, and I also don't even know who's on anyone's team. So let me.
Okay. Well,
I can quickly look it up. Let me see.
yeah. Take a look at least at the final teams. See what you
Sure.
think, or the draft board that has the order of all the
Yeah,
picks.
yeah. I see the draft board now. I mean, to be honest, it's just like I feel like other than like you can easily just separate I feel like the picks with tier one and tier two, and not like I actually like their skill level, but just like if you picked anyone in tier one within your first two rounds, like you're not actually griefing. Um, and then but if you choose like a tier two player in your first two rounds, then you're like griefing. And like looking at it, it doesn't really seem like anybody really griefed it, so it's just like whatever, honestly.
All right. Fair.
Especially because like a lot of these players, I feel like aren't even that consistent or don't even play CS2 anymore that or like consistently. So it's just like, what are you really going off of like Valorant gameplay? Like that's not even realistic, right?
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So, well, now that you've looked at the draft board, if you think the draft was pretty reasonable, were there any teams or players that you have your eye on? You think like, oh, that's an interesting lineup, or oh, this player, maybe can surprise us or flop for that matter.
I mean, as far as like surprise, is always just gonna. I feel like based off like your previous majors, I've at least like somewhat paid attention to, or the one I participated in. Like sometimes just like yeah, like a lot of people rely on like the top end to do a lot of carrying, but like usually they perform within variants that would cause them to at least have a chance to win. So I usually feel like it's actually like the bottom end's ability to like do basic things like listen or like just have a life game, right? And that's usually what kind of pushes them over the line more than anything else. I mean, sometimes it's just like I remember when I played with you, it was just like Tarl's team was just way better than everyone else's, so that was just like a no contest. But even then, it's just like I remember we took a map off them, and that was just like everybody was kind of pulling a little weight, so it kind of worked out.
Sure, yeah. So about that, you've reached the final before when you're on my team.
Uh huh.
Almost got it over the line, but not quite. So
I don't even think it was close. But
yeah, we were on map three. We had decent first half, but anyway, without having played any officials yet, obviously,
hmm
knowing what you know now, what is a reasonable goal for your team in this event? Like, how far would be considered a decent success?
um, at least for me, I don't really have that many expectations. Like I signed up just to have fun, right? I mean, the name of my team is kind of how I feel anyways, right? Just
Fair
gotta
enough.
have PMA, just go in, have some fun. You win some, you lose some. If we win, that's great. If we lose, just it's just for fun, right? So.
I see. So you're playing against I think Matt's team and Han's team in
hmm
the first week. So any interesting wrinkles in those matchups? Do you think like maybe anyone on the other team that might make that spicy, or a head to head between someone on that team and someone on your team?
think I think what it really comes down to sometimes, at least like from my previous experience playing with you, for example, really just comes down to like whoever has like a half decent shot caller. It's like if everyone is not playing in a way where it's just like someone's like straight up griefing or something, right? I feel like usually it really just comes down to like shot calling and like how people decide to play the game. I know Carl pointed out that he felt like this is like one of the biggest reasons why he just like has farmed people over time and why he has so many major wins. It's just like he just plays basic strategies, tries to make sure his team understands how to do that. Just kind of play around that. So I think like looking at like Han or Matt's teams, it's just like the question is I think you're playing with a bunch of random people you've probably never played with or have like maybe some experience with, but the bigger question is like can you actually coordinate them in some way that like puts them in line, right? I know like Vale has had a lot of experience and a lot of success whipping his teams over and over again, so we'll have to see if he can replicate that success, right?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. All three of those players have, at least in my opinion, been pretty successful captains. Obviously, they've been great individual players on stars, but I think they've also each have had their own successes, like sort of captaining and leading their team. So yeah, no, that's a good point. I think the other teams maybe haven't had the other captains maybe haven't had as much experience doing that, Dom and Love, but yeah, that's a great point. All right, last question. So, aside from your own, out of all the other teams in the field, which matchups are you most looking forward to seeing and why? So, like probably in the playoffs when you get to see a full best of
Mm.
three. Like which matchup is the spiciest, excluding your team?
I think matchup I'm personally looking forward to is like Lev versus Snake G9. So Tylenol Snake G9. I feel like that would be a pretty fun matchup.
Okay. Yeah, is there a particular reason? You just want to see the head to head between those two guys, or
I think both of them have not really captained before, so it'll be fun to see. Or like I guess much less experience doing so. So it'd be pretty interesting to see kind of how they deal with that. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more variables filled in for like the rest of the teams as far as how their captains kind of do things, right? So think just like seeing some new faces try going at it. It's always fun to watch, right?
yeah, no, that's a good point. When I think when Dom played his last major, I want to say Neitsk was probably the more vocal one, and actually maybe last major, Tylenol was like the leader of his team, but yeah, definitely not as much experience as like Matt or Han or Taro, but yeah, no,
Yeah, I mean, I know during our ancient game, Dom was or Snake G9 was definitely doing some shot calling, at least on T side, calling
yeah,
certain
he
strats.
certainly has
So
the knowledge to do it. It just he hasn't had like an insane amount of reps in majors compared to the others, but yeah, it was great to get your insight. So we'll we'll catch up after the first batch of games have been completed. You know, there's a lot of questions with all these different lineups, but yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.